Hey everyone, it's Nasla. Welcome to Platypus Nasla Tutorials, and today I'm going to be teaching each of you how to make your very own text shield gaming logo. First of all, you're going to need a couple of things. You're going to need two fonts from dafont.com, the first of which is called Demonize, that's the gaming font that you see here. The second of which is called Lemon Milk, that's the logo text that you see here. Additionally, you will need to download a gradient pack from Brusheezy. The link for these fonts and for that gradient pack are in the description below. To create a new document, go to File, New. I always make my Photoshop files larger than I think they need to be because I'd rather have it be too large than too small. So I would recommend 5,000 pixels by 5,000 pixels, and make sure that your resolution is 300 pixels per inch. Again, 5,000 by 5,000 and 300 pixels per inch. RGB color scheme, and then it doesn't really matter what your background color is going to be because I recommend using two different backgrounds to make sure that you did this correctly. So create, and we've got a brand new Photoshop document here. The first thing that I recommend doing is unlocking this background layer and switching this to white background. After that, create a new layer, make black your foreground color, and using your paint bucket tool, fill the entire layer with black. Once you have your black background and your white background, you can group these two layers and call them background. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start creating the shield. So to do that, create a brand new layer above the background. Go over to your shape tool, which is usually defaulted to rectangle. Into your shape tool, go down to custom shape tool. In this middle upper section of your screen, you will see that I've already chosen the triangle tool. If that is not already selected, if you scroll down, you'll see a full filled triangle. You don't want this outline version, you really want this filled entire triangle. So select that, and then while holding shift, draw a triangle over the majority of your screen, roughly about that big. So as you'll see, it's already filling to black, so you can't really see it on the white background. What I recommend is choosing a very bright color that is neither of your background colors, just to start this process so that you can see it very clearly. I'm going to choose an RGB blue color. Now just select your shield layer. With this selected, hold Control and then press T to transform your object. Then, while holding Shift, rotate your object upside down. Click the check button when it's completed. From this point, you're going to want guides to help you create a shield-looking shape from this triangle. To do so, click View, New Guide. I first input 50%. That's about there. I actually want it just a little bit higher, probably right about there. Create another new guide. This one placed vertically at 50%. You now have a line straight directly through your triangle and slightly above your halfway point of your triangle. Under your pen tool, go to Add Anchor Point tool. Since this is already a shape, you'll see 3 pathway points appear on your screen. These are the 3 points of the triangle. Adding new points will just add new areas for you to expand or contract the triangle. Place a point at the top directly in the center, right where the guide touches the triangle. Click your Direct Selection tool. Use this to pull your shield up. This is about right. Create 2 more points where the guide meets your triangle sides. Again, select your Direct Selection tool. Drag these sides out while remaining on the guide to create a rounded shield shape. It's starting to look pretty good, but it's not quite right yet. Select your Move tool again. Use this to drag your guide downward, about 1/3 of the way, right there. Then again, click your Add Anchor Point tool. Create 2 more side points. Select your Direct Selection tool and round off the edges of your shield until it looks about right. Now if it's not exactly symmetrical, don't worry, because we're basically just going to duplicate the side that looks better. To hide your guides, click Control H, because you no longer need them. If you see, This side of the shield looks much smoother than the right side of the shield. So, click Ctrl H to get your guides back. You can drag the horizontal guide out of your way. Next, you're going to need to rasterize your layer. Right-click on your shield layer and go to Rasterize Layer. Next, select the Rectangle Marquee tool. Use this to select the half of your shield that looks better than the other half. Right-click in the selected area and go to Select Inverse. You may now press Delete to delete the half of your shield that does not look correct. Use Ctrl D to deselect this area. Next, with your shield layer selected, hit Ctrl J to duplicate the layer. Go to Edit, Transform, and flip horizontally to create a mirrored effect of your shield. Then, drag the second half of the shield into place. Use Ctrl H to get rid of your guide and line your shield up. You may nudge it into place using the arrow keys. Now that the shield is symmetrical, use Shift to select both layers and hit Ctrl E to merge them together. Rename this layer Shield Base. Now you're going to want to start working on the outlines and interior. To start out, we're going to add a blue gradient over this shield. To do so, right-click on the layer and go to Blending Options. In the Blending Options, go down to Gradient Overlay. Currently, you'll see a different effect that I used. Make sure your blend mode is set to normal, your opacity is set to 100, your style is set to radial, your angle is set to 90, and your scale is set to 100. Next, click to open your gradient colors. Click the color on the far left. Click Color in order to open your color schemes. For this, I will be using a dark blue. This seems to be a good color. Next, select the location on the far right. Open your color palette. I like to choose something that's close to the color that I have, but still gives it a spotlight effect. Something right there seems pretty good. You can also click on your canvas and move this gradient around. I think it looks best in the top left corner, but a lot of people use the top right or bottom. It's up to you. Next, we're gonna add a red shield over this, just a little bit smaller, just like you see right here. To do this, duplicate your shield base by clicking Ctrl and J. Since we already have a gradient overlay over this, right-click on the layer and go to Blending Options. It'll automatically default to the original shield base, but we want it to be red. To change this, click on the gradient colors. On the far left 0% location color, change this to a dark red. Select your far right color. Change this to a bright red. These colors seem pretty good. Click OK, and click OK again. Next, click Ctrl and T to transform the object. We're going to want this about 85% the size of the original shield. Click the check mark. Make sure that this is renamed Red Shield Base. This will help with any confusion, especially since it automatically defaults in your layer as looking blue. Next, we're going to add some overlays that will make this look more like a shield. Click Ctrl H so that your guides are back in place. Create a new layer by selecting the new layer. Make white your foreground color. Using the Rectangle Marquee tool, select the right half of your shield. Right-click on this area and click Fill. With foreground color selected, click OK. Change this layer style to Overlay. Next, you're going to want to create a mask so that all of this additional area outside of the shield is not filled. This will help later when we're creating an outline. Use Ctrl and select your shield base. This will outline your entire shield. With layer 1 selected, click the mask tool. This will ensure that it only fills over the area of the shield. Click Ctrl H to hide your guide. This looks good, but it's a little bit harsh. Try changing it to soft light and lowering the opacity to around 30%. Next, we're going to add a little orb highlight on this left area above our original gradient. To do this, create a new layer. create a circle using the Ellipse tool. Hold down Shift and make your circle approximately this large. Move your circle to approximately this location on the shield, and go to Edit, Transform, and Warp. Draw your lines up to create almost a C. This shape looks about right. Click the check mark to approve. Next, hit Ctrl-T to transform the object, and rotate until the top of the bean is towards the corner of the shield. Drag your object approximately right here. With just the Ellipse layer selected, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. This will make you either convert to a smart object or rasterize the layer. I prefer to convert to a smart object because it preserves quality. Blur this image between 250 and 300 pixels. This looks about right. Click OK to accept. Next, I'm going to want to make sure that this is also masked to the original shield shape so that I don't have all this fuzzy white stuff on the outside, which both looks bad and will mess up our outline in the future. To do so, hit Ctrl and select the shield shape on the layer preview of the original base. Then, with the Ellipse layer selected, click Mask. Set the layer to soft light and reduce the opacity to around 50%. We're done with our original shield base. As you can see, it looks quite similar to the base on this original. What we're going to do next is add a small outline just around the blue shield. To do this, click on the shield base layer, right-click, and go to Blending Options. This is where you're going to need to install the gradient pack that I recommended. The link is in the description below. Click on the stroke style. Change the size to 35 pixels. Keep the position on the outside, blend mode as normal, and opacity as 100%. Change the fill type to gradient. Click on the down arrow next to your gradient. Click the settings icon. Load the gradient pack that I recommended for you. Scroll down until you find this gradient. Make sure that reverse is not selected so that you have the darkest aspect on the top and the lightest aspect on the bottom. Click OK. Next, we're going to add the word gaming above this shield because we want that incorporated in the overall metallic outline that the shield gets for the final product. To do this, select the new layer tool. Click the horizontal text tool. Select the demonized font, linked in the description below. With caps lock on, write the name of your gaming company. Set the size to around 180, or just make sure that a little bit of the text sticks out on the outside of the shield. With your text layer selected, hit Ctrl-T and set it to a slight angle. I like to set it around 3% because then I can remember it later when I'm setting other angles. Hit the check mark to approve this. Move your font up. I like to have it right about here. Next, we're going to add some lines inside the word gaming. To do this, create a new layer. Under your shape tool, select the rectangle tool. Create a long, thin rectangle like so. Open your color picker and set the color to a light gray right around here. Click OK to accept that. With your Move tool selected and the rectangle selected, hit Ctrl-T to rotate it to the proper angle. Set your angle around 3%, just like you did with your text. Drag this to where you want the top line to be. I like it right around there. Now we're going to create a mask so that this only fills the text. To do this, hit Ctrl and select the text preview on your text layer. This will create a marquee around your text. With the rectangle selected, click your mask. Now you just have the line inside of the word that you've written. We want a second rectangle that fills the bottom half of the word. Create a new layer. Select your rectangle tool again. This time, create a larger rectangle, approximately this big. We're gonna fill this with an even darker gray. So under Fill, open your color picker. Select a color right around here. That looks good. Select OK. With your second rectangle selected, hit Ctrl T and rotate it to about a 3% angle, just like we did with the gaming text. Click the check mark to approve. Just as we did with our previous layer, we're going to create a mask. Put this into place where you think it would look best. I use the arrow keys to nudge it slightly. Hit Ctrl and select your gaming layer again. This will create a marquee around the text. Click your mask tool to mask this rectangle. Rename your layers so that you remember what they are later. Next, we're going to create a large metallic outline around the shield and the word gaming, just like in the original. To do this, you're going to want to group your layer. Select your very top layer, which should be your dark stripe, all the way down to your shield base by holding Shift, scrolling down, and clicking the layer. Notice that every single layer is highlighted. You can then either hit Ctrl G or the folder icon down here to group these layers. Rename this Shield. We're going to create a stroke around the entire group. To do so, right-click on the group and go to Blending Options. Select Stroke. Change the size to 100. Make sure the position is set to outside, the blend mode is set to normal, and the opacity is set to 100%. We're going to load another gradient from the gradient pack linked in the description. To do this, click on the arrow next to your gradient. Click on your settings and load gradients. Select the pack you want to load. I already have these loaded up. Begin clicking through until you find a gradient that you think suits the look. Sometimes this is easier to do if you set it to large or small thumbnail. I think this one looks good. Once you find one you like, click OK. Because the text layer and its stripes are incorporated in this group, if I move them up or down, the gradient stroke outside moves along with it. With these three layers selected, move it to a location where you think it looks good. I like it right about there. Next, collapse your shield group again and create a new layer. We're going to add the word logo underneath this. For you, you can add whatever you'd like. It can be a second word, or if you don't want one at all, just skip this step. Click the horizontal type tool. Change your font to Lemon Milk. Change it from regular to bold. And set the size to 72 points. Write your word. This text looks nice, but it's a little bit too crunched together. I'm going to add some kerning. To do this, click this icon on the top right of your screen. Under your kerning, go from 0 to 100. If your text is very, very small, you can even make it larger. And if you have a lot of text, you can make it smaller. For the word logo, 100 is just about correct. You can collapse this by clicking these two arrows. Click the check mark once you're done. Next, move your logo text just below the gaming text. It should still be centered since the gaming text was originally centered. Next, we'll be removing the portion of the red shield that's directly behind the text. To do this, expand your shield group layer. Go down to your red shield base. Select your rectangle marquee tool and use this to create a square. Like so. Then, with red shield base layer selected, hit delete to remove that area. Hit Ctrl D to deselect this area. This looks pretty good, but we want the gaming logo text to just be a little bit more centered. To do this, select Gaming, Light Stripe, and Dark Stripe layers by holding Ctrl as you click each one of them. Then, still holding Ctrl, move your layer downward. That's close, but we still want to move the secondary text downward. To do this, select your secondary text layer. With the Move tool selected, click and drag until it looks good. You can also use your arrow keys to nudge slightly. We're almost done, but we're not quite there. What we need to do last is add a blue outline just around this original gaming text, just like you see here. To do this, we're going to duplicate the gaming layer. With the gaming layer selected, hit Ctrl and J. This will create a copy. Drag the copy above your two stripe layers. You can no longer see the stripes, but that's okay. We'll fix that in just a second. Right-click on your gaming copy layer and go to Blending Options. Click Stroke to add a stroke around it. It defaulted to our last stroke, but that's okay. We'll fix it. Change the size to 25 pixels. Make sure the position is set to outside, the blend mode to normal, and the opacity to 100%. Change the fill type to color. Select a blue color that you think looks nice. Click OK when you found a color that you like. Click OK again to close your blending options. Now this outline looks nice, but we want to make sure that we get those stripes back. To do that, over in your layer styles, set the fill of this layer to 0%. Now we still have our stroke, but we no longer have the white text fill, so we can see our lines through that. And there you have it. That's how you make your own Gaming Shield logo. You can use this for Mixer, you can use this for Twitter, you can use this for YouTube, you can use this for a variety of purposes, but it's a super useful thing to know if you're getting started in the gaming community. If you have any questions, please drop some comments and let me know, and I will do my best to help every single person out. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for more tutorials like this.